Okay, so border time. You've woven in all your ends on your blanket and you're ready for a border. Now, obviously you'll be doing your border in the same colour as the main body of your blanket, be it yellow or cream or whatever colour it is you've chosen to use. But so you can see what I am doing, I'm going to use a gorgeous blue, which is shade number 125 Sax, again in the Signet Chunky range. That's just so you can see exactly what I'm doing and where I'm putting stitches, because there's nothing worse than not quite seeing where the corners are, or so anyway, you know what I mean. I'm still going to be using my 6.5mm hook. It's also worthwhile having some stitch markers. I've just grabbed 4 random stitch markers. They are beyond adorable. Hopefully that's focusing on the camera. I've actually will pop a link to where I get my stitch markers from. I've got a whole range. This one's particularly appropriate. I get them from What Mustard Made, so I will link to her. She hand makes these and I got a bit obsessed with the whales, so I have several of them. I've also got some very large versions, but they're super cute. That's where they're from. They're just handy for marking your stitches. You don't need stitch markers. It's just a lot easier if you have them. So pick which side you want to be the front of your blanket. Now, if you're doing it like I have with random colour changes, they're pretty much the same both sides, to be fair. It's up to you which you want to be the more prominent colour sticking forward. So for my cream and sundown one, I've picked where my sundown are like popping out the front rather than disappearing away at the back. So you decide which you want to be the front or the back of your blanket. I'm just going to pick a random side. It's here. So this is now declared my front of my blanket. So you want to work with the right side facing you. So let's begin. With your border colour of choice yarn, we're going to pop the hook into the very first stitch of your blanket over here. Then you're going to join your yarn however you want to join it. Often I do a slip knot. Oh, let's do a slip knot. I always do a slip knot. Why change now? I'm just going to do a slip knot, pop that on my hook, and then bring the loop to the front of my work. So you're going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. And in this very first stitch, you are going to put 3 single crochets all into the same stitch. I'm actually going to crochet over the tail of this yarn too, semi-weaving that in later. So we're going to pop in 3, which will count as your first corner. So 1, 2, 3. And this is where the stitch markers come in handy. Pop a stitch marker into the second of those 3 single crochets you did. Just so you've just got it marked, because it's quite easy to miss. And then you are going to pop a single crochet in every stitch all the way along until you come over here to your last stitch. So go ahead and pop a single crochet. That's my dog making very odd noises out in the hallway. So you're just going to pop a single crochet in every stitch. Oh, they're both starting now. Excuse me, shush please. It's not just cats that get involved in my videos. Turns out the dogs would like to too. You may have noticed I crocheted over the tail. It's just, I can drop that out of the way now. Just saves you weaving it in later. Okay, I'm nearing my last single crochet on this row. So when you get to the very last one, you're going to again put 3 single crochets in. 1, 2, 3. and that's your next corner made. So pop another stitch marker into that second single crochet that you just did, and now we're going to work down the first side. We are going to be doing double crochets down the side. We're going to put 2 in each row, and this is where having a contrasting colour is going to really help, because there's nothing worse than not being able to see exactly where someone is putting their stitches. So we're just going to go straight into doing double crochets, and we're going to put 2 around this stitch here. So just wrapping it around, 1, 2. And then you're going to put 2 into the next row. So around this very first stitch, just kind of going in between the stitches, 2 into this one. This is less noticeable when you're using the same colour. Again, 2 double crochet around this grey row here. So I'm just going around the whole stitch. Two around this yellow stitch here. And keep doing that all the way down. So 2 double crochet in each row as you go down the side of your blanket. And then you'll come back, then take 2, then you'll find yourself back on your foundation single crochet row. So you're going to crochet straight around this stitch here, just right around the whole thing. So that's the edge. Then you're on to the bottom, and you'll see, because it's foundation single crochet, you can see the loops you're going to be crocheting under. So in this very first stitch here, I'm going to pop 3 single crochet. Oops. And again, mark the second of those 3 single crochets, just so you can see them really easily for next row. And then you're going to put a single crochet in every one of your foundation single crochets, the bottom of it along. Okay, I've got 2 left. This is my slip knot. I've woven all my ends in. And in that very last stitch, you're going to pop 3 single crochet. And for the final time, mark that second of the 3 single crochets. And then we're going to go back up the side again. And just like on this side, you're going to pop 2 double crochets in each row as you go up. So this first one is right here. final 2 double crochets here. Then you're going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet you did. See, that's my chain 1, ignore that, straight into the top of that first single crochet. So just slip stitch to join. And that's the first round. It will look a bit odd at the moment. As you can see, I've got some bowing. If you can pull it. And you're ready for round 2. Okay, round 2. You're going to chain 1 and pop a single crochet in that same stitch. And you'll see we're already on top of that the middle of the third single crochet. So take out your stitch marker and put 3 single crochets into that stitch. And mark the second single crochet you do with the stitch marker again. And then single crochet in every stitch around, and where you have your corner middle sort of single crochet stitch marked, you're going to put 3 single crochets in there and mark the second one, just like you've done. And you're going to do that all the way around. So single crochet along the top edge, 3 single crochet all along this edge, 3 single crochet all the way along here, 3 single crochet. And I will meet you back at this point over here, so before you join. So go ahead, single crochet all the way around, and don't forget your 3 single crochets in your marked stitches. Okay, so I'm approaching the end of my single crochet round, which is just here. And I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch to join. So if you give everything a little tug, it should all be falling into line. Obviously it doesn't look great in bright blue, mustard and grey. It's a very interesting colour combination I've opted for here, but hopefully it means it's nice and clear and you can see exactly where all my stitches are. If I just bring in, oh, I'll try not to knock everything. You do not notice if you're doing everything in the same colour. It looks an awful lot neater than this. But this is no good to show you on camera because you just would not be able to see what I was doing. So we're now going to go on to do this very pretty shell scalloped row. Let me move this back out of the way again. Okay, so word about the scalloped row before we go any further. You may find you have to do a little bit of fudging to get the shells to line up perfectly. That is because we have an odd number of stitches rather than an even number of stitches. So you'll see as we go along how you may need to just skip 1 or maybe 2 to actually get it to fit. But let me bring this back in, having just got rid of it. In the finished blanket, you would have no idea whether I'd skipped 1 or 2, or if I'd skipped 2 there, 1 there. You can't tell in the finished blanket. So there may be a tiny bit of fudging, things might not exactly line up, but the overall sort of finished product, you would have no idea. It looks absolutely perfect. Everything fits just fine. So my word is relax. Don't worry if you've got a shell more than I've got or a shell less than I've got. If they're looking a bit stretched, You can shorten them down. Just be prepared to have a little bit of winging it involved with this round. It has worked out fine maths wise. Now I've written down again on my blog for this, sorry, bring it back in again. For this exact, if you are making this exact blanket with the exact amount of stitches that I've done for this sort of stroller blanket size one, in my written pattern on my blog, which is linked to in the description box below, I tell you exactly where to put your shells. So if you're following my pattern perfectly to the letter, you'll be fine. If you are making a slightly wider blanket, or you know, if you're just doing your own thing, just be prepared to wing it. You're fine. Relax. No one will know. It's fine. We're all good. Shell row. Let's go. Enough blathering on from me. Right. This marked single crochet here. Make sure I'm actually in shot. This marked single crochet here. You are going to, without doing anything, you are going to put 9 double crochets all into this stitch here. So you're going to be skipping this stitch where you've joined. You may be skipping 1, you may be skipping 2. Just don't worry about that. You're going to go straight into putting 9 double crochets into this marked stitch here. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker out. My little whale friend down there. So into this stitch, 9 double crochets. It's a lot of stitches to put in a tiny space, and I've lost count. I think I've done 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, 9. So that is your first corner made. So you're going to skip 2 stitches and slip stitch into this third one here. And a slip stitch is just put your hook in, grab the yarn and come through everything. Skip 1 stitch and put 5 double crochets into the next. So you join to this one, skip this one, 5 double crochets into the next. Skip a stitch, slip stitch into the next. Skip a stitch, 5 double crochet. So you're going to do this all the way along. And over here, we may need to fudge it slightly, but that's fine. I'm down for that. It's the joy of crochet, is you can totally wing it. Not like knitting where you've got to be perfect each time. Skip a stitch, slip stitch. Skip a stitch, 5 double crochet. Skip, slip stitch, skip, 5 double crochet. Right, now I'm nearing my next corner. So this is where you may or may not need to fudge it a little bit. So this is where my 9 double crochet, this corner section, is going to go. So I know that in between these 2 shells, I need to have a slip stitch. So I'm going to skip 1, slip stitch as normal, and then I'm going to just skip two to make it fit. I know you've been skipping one all the way along here, but over here skip 2 and put 9 double crochet into that marked stitch. Like so. And you're going to turn and work down the side. It's quite nice to, you skip 2 here, so skip 2 here, keep it nice and even, and pop a slip stitch to anchor that down. And you're just going to do this all the way around. So you're going to have 5 double crochets, skipping a stitch, and then anchoring it with a slip stitch in the middle. And on the corners you're going to have 9. 5, 9. So I'm going to keep going around. I'm going to skip 1, pop in my 5 double crochet. Hopefully I'm still in shot. I keep wandering out. Skip 1, slip stitch, skip 1, 5 double crochet. Skip 1, slip stitch, skip 1, 5 double crochet. Okay, so at this corner, I've got a little bit of extra fudging to do. I've only got 3 spare stitches, so I'm going to skip 1, slip stitch, and then only skip 1 before I go ahead and put 9 in here. So on the other side we were skipping 2 over here, but here I have to skip 1. So it's all just a little bit of trial and error to get them to fit in. So keep doing that on the remaining 2 sides. My advice is to echo what you did here. So we skipped 2 on this side, so I'm going to skip 2 here, and just mirror what you've done so your shells are in line with each other. So you can fold them over and they all match up. Do the same along this side, and then again for this side, just mirror what you did here. So we skipped 1 on this bit, so I'll skip 1 on that one. So it's just trial and error, keep going round, and you'll have a pretty shell border. So I'm going to go ahead, finish this one up. And that's it really. So I hope that was helpful to you. Like I say, with the scalloped edge, fudge it a little bit. It'll be fine. If you've got to rip something back a bit to have another go, that's also fine. As long as the end product looks how you want it to look, that's all that matters. And if you find everything still a bit tight, I mean, generally the weight of the blanket, so on my large blanket, I haven't got any pulling in like this, but you can always give it a little block, pin it out into shape so it's perfectly square if you want to. And happy crocheting. I hope you enjoyed making your bubble puff, super fat, squishy, ultimate texture don't know how to describe it, nameless stitch blanket. And I shall see you again on my channel very soon for another crochet video. Thank you.